Good morning, everyone. Welcome to HIMT YouTube channel. Myself, Guntur Srinivas, HIMT faculty and Vice Principal of Vizag HIMT. So we have in the green ship part 1 and part 2, we have covered and we have seen the topic regarding green ship. It's for a refresh. So let us see what we have seen in part 1 and part 2. So we have gone through what is a motto of green ship, what is green ship, and United Nations and IMO's initiative role towards reduction of greenhouse gas. IMO work to address greenhouse gas emissions from ships. Global project supporting the IMO greenhouse gas strategy, green ship of the future. Understanding greenhouse gases, IMO action plan, pathway for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, black carbon, and procedure for monitoring emission targets. So these are all the topics we have covered in the green ship part 1 and part 2. And I thanks every one of you all for watching the part 1 and part 2 videos. And today I'll be covering green ship part 3. And the learning objectives are purpose of monitoring emission targets, greenhouse effect solution, IMO levels of ambition. What are the IMO's levels of ambition? Business as usual emission. What is this? We'll have a look. And adaptation to greenhouse effect solution, innovative technologies and categorization, and highlighting various innovative technologies getting to zero emission. So what is the purpose of monitoring emission targets? It facilitates the development and deployment of technologies that can help resilience to the impacts of the climate change. And the adaptation fund was established to finance adaptation projects and programs in developing countries that are parties to the Kyoto Protocol and IMO in order to achieve the desired emission targets. Greenhouse effect solution. So what is the solution? How do we reduce this greenhouse effect? So reducing greenhouse gas emissions will require significant effort at the international, national, and the local levels. And first and foremost, we must slash fossil fuel production, consumption, and pollution by ramping up our use of clean, future marine fuels, renewable energy, and energy efficient technologies, and by investing in fuel efficient and electric vehicles. Here vehicles is regarding to the ships. So we must end fossil fuel subsides and better leverage cap and invest programs, carbon pricing and carbon capture, which includes storage, utilization technologies, which catch the carbon dioxide from emission sources like power plants or directly from the air and permanently bury it underground or seabed and convert it into other materials. As an individuals, we must commit to taking carbon cutting in our daily lives. So here you can see an image of carbon capture. So CO2 capture, and then it is transported and through the pipelines, it is getting transported from the vessel and permanently stored under the seabed. It is permanently stored in the reservoirs around 1000 to 2000 meters below the seabed. And the solutions above greenhouse gas emissions are required to achieve objectives as per the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. Decrease greenhouse gas pollution by 45% from 2010 levels by 2030 and reach net zero emissions by the year 2050. And as per the IMO, International Maritime Organization, agreed in April 2018, drafted greenhouse gas strategy to decrease 40% reduction of carbon intensity by 2030 and pursuing effects towards 70% by 2050 and 50% annual greenhouse gas by 2050. So these are the objectives as per the IPCC and IMO. IMO levels of ambition. IMO's initial strategy identifies levels of ambition for the international shipping sector, noting that technologically innovation and the global introduction of alternative fuels and energy sources for international shipping will be integral to achieve the overall ambition. The reviews should take into account updated emission estimates, emission reduction options for international shipping, and the reports of the IPCC as relevant. Levels of ambition directing the initial strategy are as follow. Number 1, carbon intensity of the ship to decline through implementation of further phases of the EEDI for the new ships. To review with the aim to strengthen the energy efficiency design requirements for ship with percentage improvement for each phase, to be determined for each ship type as appropriate. And as of all us, you all know, during the MEPC 76 session, which was held in the year June 2021, the phases regarding the EEDI has been implemented. So which year it has been implemented, we'll see in the coming slides. Number 2, carbon intensity of international shipping to decline to reduce carbon dioxide emissions per transport work as an average across international shipping by at least 40% by the year 2030 and pursuing effects towards 70% by 2050 compared to 2008. And third one, greenhouse gas emissions from international shipping peak and decline to peak greenhouse gas emissions from international shipping as soon as possible and to reduce the total annual greenhouse gas emissions by at least 50% by the year 2050 compared to the year 2008, while pursuing efforts towards phasing them out as called for in the vision as a point on a pathway of CO2 emissions reductions consistent with the Paris Agreement temperature goals. So what is the vision? IMO remains committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions from international shipping and as a matter of urgency aims to phase them out as soon as possible. So what is business as usual emissions? The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change defined a business as usual baseline case as the level of emissions that would result if future development trends follow those of the past and no changes in policies take place. So basically a business as usual means if no policies are taken into account, no innovative technologies are implemented. So what will be the future emissions? Under the IPCC business as usual emissions of greenhouse gases, a rate of increase of global mean temperature during the next century of about 0.3 degrees centigrade per decade. So this is greater than that seen over the past 10,000 years. And scenario in developing countries has been a debate issue in climate change negotiations. Such definition will lead to an underestimation of business as usual emissions of developing countries, and thus an underestimation of mitigation efforts. If mitigation efforts has not been implemented for the reduction of CO2 emissions, then the business as usual emissions will gradually increase. Business as usual pathway CO2 emissions from international shipping under the strategy is shown in the figure, and compared to business as usual emissions pathway, a range of emission pathways are possible under the IMO's initial strategy. So here you can see the figure. The one on the y-axis is carbon dioxide metric ton per year, and the one on the x-axis is years from the year 2010 to the year 2035. So the one in the black line, you can see it's as a business as usual emissions, carbon dioxide, 101 gigatons. And with respect to blue and the green lines, the blue line represents the IMO's initial greenhouse gas strategy, that is minimum ambition 40 gigatons, and the maximum ambition is about 28 gigatons. As we have seen in the slide, the figure, the blue line is the minimum ambition implied by the strategy, and it reflects a 40% carbon intensity reduction by the year 2030. And the green line is the maximum possible ambition implied by the strategy. It's driven primarily by the goal to pursue phasing out greenhouse gas emissions from the international shipping at the pace consistent with the Paris temperature goals. So this is basically the blue line, and the green line are the IMO initial strategy and levels of ambition, and the green line is the vision of the IMO. And the strategy implies cumulative CO2 emissions of between 28 to 40 gigatons from international shipping from 2015 to 2055, compared to business as usual of more than 100 gigatons covered over the same period. So this is the reason why the IMO has taken the action for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and the various technologies are there. An adoption to solution, and to achieve the IMO adoption for initial strategy for the reduction of greenhouse gas emission and carbon intensity should assist countries party to IMO in adapting to the adverse effects of climate change, facilitate the development of new programs, and deploying new technologies that can help increase resilience to the impacts of the climate change, and to achieve the desired objectives of the IMO initial strategy on reduction of greenhouse gases and carbon intensity. So new programs and technologies developed for the reduction of greenhouse gas and carbon intensity and to reach zero emissions are as follow. Number one, a wide variety of design, operational, and economic solution, which includes a combination of design, operational, and also solutions for the economic sector, particularly shipping. Number two, various green technologies. Number three, compliance and enforcement factors, which contribute to lower fuel cost and energy savings. Number four, adopting methods to improve propulsion efficiency. Number five, future marine fuels. 6, propulsion system developments. And number 7, utilization of renewable energy. And the number 8, last one, transition from existing to future marine fuels, including zero carbon fuels. So all these 8 points we will discuss later. Innovative technologies, calculation of efficiency and verification. The verification of innovative energy efficiency technology is a complex process as documented in the IMO guideline. This is an interim guidance documented, expected to evolve over time with experience gained from using these technologies. The evaluation of the benefit of innovative technologies for EEDI is to be conducted with the assessment of the hull form and propulsion system with which it is intended to be used. And the ship energy efficiency measures advisory details some of the energy saving measures that can be applied for both new and existing vessels. Potential energy savings are estimated in terms of reductions in engine specific fuel consumption, reduction in propulsion fuel consumption, and reduction in overall vessel fuel consumption. So that is the potential energy savings. And these estimates are based on values derived from vendor and manufacturer claims, industry reports, practical operating experience, and engineering review. So the innovative technologies are again, they are categorized into category A, category B, and category C, depending on their characteristics and they influence the EEDI formula. Furthermore, innovative energy efficiency technologies of category B and C are again categorized into two subcategories, that is category B into B1 and B2 and category C into C1 and C2. So category A, technologies that directly influence and shift the ship's speed power and can change the combination of propulsion power and the reference speed. For example, technologies at constant reference speed can lead to a reduction of propulsion power, or for a constant propulsion power that could lead to an increased reference speed. And these categories cover ESDs, that is energy saving device, such as pre-propeller fins, ducts, post-swell status, rudder fins, and combinations of them along with low friction coatings, and hull, propeller, rudder optimization efforts that directly impact ship's hydrodynamic performance. And category B, commonly known as fifth term technologies that reduce propulsion power at a reference speed but do not generate electricity, and the saved energy is counted as P efficiency. And category B1, technologies which can be used at all times during the operation, example hull, hair, lubrication, and thus the availability factor should be treated as 1.0. So the saved energy, P efficiency in watts, indicates 75% of the installed power for which innovative technology that contributes to ship propulsion. Category B2, technologies which can be used at their full output only under limited conditions and periods, example wind power, and the setting of availability factor should be less than 1.0. Category C, commonly known as fourth term technologies that generate electricity, and the saved energy is counted as auxiliary power reduction due to use of innovative electric power generation technologies. And category C1, technologies which can be used at all times during the operation, utilizing waste heat recovery, and thus the availability factor should be treated as 1.0. And category C2, technologies which can be used at their full output only under limited conditions, example solar power, and the setting of availability factor should be less than 1.0. So here you can see the innovative energy efficiency technologies EEDI formula. EEDI is equal to main engine emissions plus auxiliary engine emissions plus shaft motor emissions minus fourth term efficiency technologies minus fifth term efficiency technologies divided by the cargo transport. And here you can see the various in the table innovative technology divided into category A, B, and C. And each of the in the table, the formula, they are color coded, and that color coded is responding to these color codes. So whichever the color codes are red will indicate over here, and whichever the color codes are indicating as a blue will be applicable over here. Same like the one in the gray, fifth term efficiency technology, air lubrication and wind propulsion, and the shaft motor emission minus fourth term efficiency technologies that are in the black color. This is the black color, waste heat recovery and the solar power So highlighting the various innovative technologies and solutions adapted for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. Number one, wide variety of design, operational and economic solutions for the greenhouse gas reduction potential. So achieving the goals of the initial IMO greenhouse gas strategy will require a mix of technical, operational and innovative solutions applicable to ships. And some of them, along with the indication on their approximate greenhouse gas reduction potential, are highlighted as given. So 5 to 15% from power and propulsion systems, and 5 to 50% from fleet management, logistics and incentives, 1 to 10% from voyage optimization, 2 to 50% from concept, speed and capability, 50 to 90% from fully electric, 35% from bio, LNG and LPG, 90% from biofuel, third generation, and 80 to 100% from hydrogen and other synthetic fuels, 1 to 10% from energy management, 2 to 20% from hull and superstructure, and up to 75% from extensive speed optimization. So all these percentages and the whatever is there, it's a combination of technical, operational and innovative solutions. Second one, various green technologies, slow steaming, design more efficient ship hull, voyage optimization, optimize propulsion efficiency, sky sails, using low carbon fuels, greener engines, auto and tuned and optimized, more efficient port management and operations, waste heat recovery systems, scrubbing towers, use of marine fuel with low sulfur content, IMO compliant. Scrubbing towers will be used in case if you are using sulfur content 3.5%, and exhaust gas recirculation and selective catalytic reduction for the reduction of NOx, trim optimization, cooling systems, advanced turbochargers, advanced propulsion system, and renewable energy. So number 3, compliance and enforcement factors contributing to lower fuel cost and energy savings. First one is hull condition. So control of factors given below can give fuel optimization up to 7%. And the factors are vessel size, hull fouling, hull damage, and hull paint. Engine condition. Control of factors given below can give fuel optimization up to 5%. And the factors are shaft, engine fuel consumption, revolutions per minute, thrust, and fuel rate. Trim and draft. Monitoring of factors given below will provide up to 5% fuel savings. And the factors are draft, trim, and stability. Weather conditions. Route planning based on weather conditions will give up to 3% optimization, and the factors are air and water temperature, cloud cover and ice cover, humidity, current speed and the direction, gust swell direction and swell height and period, wave direction and visibility and the sea level. Vessel speed. Correct vessel speed can give fuel optimization up to 3%. The factors are minimum speed, maximum speed, and the average speed. Number 4, methods to improve propulsion efficiency. Optimizing hull behavior, quart nozzle, improved bulbous bore design, pre-swell starter, propeller boss fin caps, shortly known as PBCF, and air lubrication or cavity system of propulsion, CPP and feathering CPP, controlled pitch propeller. Number 5, propulsion system developments. So various are contra-rotating propellers, wake equalizing ducts, cavity system of propulsion, water jet propulsion, electric propulsion, and power takeoff and power take-in systems in the conventional diesel electric propulsion. Number 6, various renewable energy are marine solar power system, harnessing wind and solar power concept, fuel cell propulsion, and types of fuel cells are alkaline fuel cell, proton exchange membrane fuel cell, direct methanol fuel cell, phosphoric acid fuel cell, molten carbonate fuel cell, and solid oxide fuel cell. And the final one is hydrogen and fuel cell. All this proton exchange membrane, direct methanol fuel cell, phosphoric acid fuel cell, and solid oxide fuel cell, alkaline fuel cell, all they come under the category of types of fuel cells. Number 7, transition from existing to future fuels. So putting shipping into the wider energy context as we transit to alternative energy sources and technologies and evolve from well to wake to blade and wave to wake. So this is the today which has been proven, and this is the future, right from the upstream to the midstream and then down to the downstream. So nuclear, natural gas, carbon capture, biomass, and renewables from the upstream to the midstream. And during your midstream, pipe and storage and bunkering, And from your midstream to downstream, use of marine future fuels. Number 8, future marine fuels, pathway to decarbonization. So IMO has developed a target of a minimum of 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2050. And ship owners have alternate fuel options to help them meet IMO's ambitions, each with its own advantages and challenges. And the future marine fuels can be categorized as number 1, carbon fuels, number 2, carbon neutral, and number 3, zero carbon. So we'll see what is a carbon fuel and carbon neutral and zero carbon. So carbon fuels are again further categorized as liquefied natural gas, liquefied petroleum gas, methanol, and ethanol. And number 2, carbon neutral are further categorized as biofuels, biomethane, synthetic methane, and SNG. And number 3, zero carbon are again further categorized as hydrogen and ammonia. And with this, I would like to stop the video over here. And I request you all, everyone, many thanks again, once again, for watching the Green Ship Part 1 and Part 2. And the Green Ship Part 4 will be covering regarding MARPOL Annex 6 new Chapter 4, regulations on energy efficiency. So we will be covering that. And what are the new phases that has come during the MEPC 76 session, which was held during the year June 2021. Okay, thank you.